The flock of red-eyed crows soared up, gazing at the scene of bloodshed with heads rolling in front of them, emitting eerie demonic cries. Ronan, with each sword strike, pierced the head of one crow, severing their heads in the blink of an eye, so 30 crows to him were just like mosquitoes. Estelle, on the other hand, stood dazed like a golden deer, still trembling as she sat on the cold, desolate floor, lost in thought, seemingly impossible to comprehend. He couldn't believe the spectacle he had just witnessed. In an instant, Ronan swiftly dealt with them using a few sword strikes, quick and clean. An entire horde of goblins rushed in like ferocious tigers, charging all at once, yet the young man managed to handle them in the blink of an eye. Earlier, Ronan cracked a mischievous smile as if he had some devious idea. Indeed, the male protagonist swiftly moved at an incredible speed, slashing with his sharp sword directly into their bodies with remarkable agility. It only took him a few seconds to teleport, his eyes glowing a deep crimson like blood. Estelle swallowed hard, a gulp of saliva sliding down her throat. The results speak for themselves. He had dealt with the entire group in less than 10 minutes. At this moment, Ronan called out to Estelle, causing him to startle and respond hastily, "Oh, sorry, I didn't know." The young man just laughed, then slung his sword over his shoulder, without the need for an apology. His smile illuminated the night, and the two of them walked home together. Estelle carried the bag on her shoulder with a weary look, burdened by its weight filled with money. Meanwhile, Ronan rubbed his sore shoulders, sighing, "So tired, thought we could travel comfortably together." He felt his shoulders quite sore after the recent brief battle. The young man even tried to move his arms more vigorously, eager to get home quickly and diligently strengthen his health, realizing his physical condition was currently weak. Estelle involuntarily asked Ronan, "What was that horrifying scream just now?" He replied, "I don't know." Recalling the moment when someone told him to stop, both of them jolted, and suspicion welled up in Ronan's heart. Frustrated, he continued, "Those crazy lunatics, just wait, I'll make them pay a hefty price." At this moment, someone from behind suddenly wielded a sharp arrow, launching an attack from the rear. He shot the arrow swiftly, flying towards the front. Just at that moment, Estelle turned around, sniffing the air with a sound that made him feel like he was in trouble. Luckily, Ronan was quick-witted enough to catch the arrow in time. Estelle's face turned pale as she saw the arrow, realizing they were only a short distance apart. He inquired with suspicion, "Where did this thing suddenly come from?" Ronan looked around, inspecting everything. Suddenly, two other young men emerged, the same ones who had been shouting earlier, putting the two in a life-threatening situation. One of them spoke, "It's these brats." Hearing this, Ronan became furious, snapping the arrow in half, and retorted, "You little brats, your head's gonna roll." He scratched his head and apologized, "Sorry, kids." He explained, "We saw something suspicious in the distance, so we thought it might be a monster." While talking, he suddenly noticed a bag full of gold inside both of their bags. They glanced at it, immediately retracting their greedy gaze to conceal their true intentions, and continued smiling and chatting. Of course, Ronan could tell their intentions with just a glance. He scoffed, "Nonsense," as the two couldn't even hide the greed in their eyes anymore. The two suddenly froze as Ronan stared at them with a piercing gaze, demanding an explanation. His eyes, sharp as knives, seemed to pierce through the hearts of these individuals, making him extremely wary. Sensing his tension, they quickly grasped the situation. One of them immediately pretended to smile innocently and approached again. However, his other hand slowly drew a small dagger from his side. He intended to stab Ronan and snatch the money at the same time. At this point, the guy's face revealed nothing of the fact that he was possessed by a demonic entity. Ronan, with his skills, quickly seized the guy's hand, rendering his attempt useless. A straight punch from his chin upwards, the force and impact strong enough to send this guy's jaw flying. Caught off guard, he was left bleeding on the spot. Ronan smirked contemptuously at him, finding him truly despicable. Seeing his comrade injured, the remaining one intended to retaliate and attack for revenge. Estelle, surprised by the turn of events, didn't want to sit still and do nothing. Immediately, she used her strength to stop him. His body became immobile seconds later. He squirmed uncomfortably, "What's happening? I can't move." Ronan, seeing this, praised Estelle, "Wow, well done." With the help, dealing with this guy became even quicker. He swiftly wielded his sword, slashing without hesitation. The young man slashed a few times at his body in the blink of an eye. He remained alive, confused about what had happened. But seconds later, he understood as cuts appeared all over his body, from head to toe. The result was a single scream before he fell lifeless on the ground. Estelle, frightened, startled at the sight of the guy collapsing. He sneered, dead already," and Ronan nodded, "Indeed, why should I spare someone wanting to kill me?" Ronan once again explained who they were. They were the most ruthless criminal group in the Empire, known as Calaboro. Naturally, Ronan had no tolerance for such individuals. As he explained, he swiftly ended the second one's life. Holding a sharp knife, he remarked, "If not for me, your organs would have been harvested by now, and today would have been your secret funeral." Surprisingly, the bag they carried suddenly had a slightly loose string. It unexpectedly moved as if there was a living creature inside. Ronan exclaimed, "Why is it moving?" Even Asel was startled. Both approached, attempting to fully open the bag and release whatever was inside. As they fully opened the bag, a pair of emerald green eyes, resembling those of a bird, stared directly at them. It flew up into the sky as soon as the bag was opened. It was an extraordinarily beautiful green bird. It's a bird, but initially, Ronan referred to it as a chicken. How can this be a chicken? Its feathers are green, and both of them are puzzled. The bird chirps cutely. Excited, Asel's eyes sparkle with joy. Ronan remarks, "The first time I've seen a green bird." Ronan nods, "I'm sure of it too." Suddenly, he notices something tied to its leg, a shackle. Is it Caliboro's shackle? Ronan explains that Caliboro's hunting shackles disrupt mana and limit the movement of the restrained. Ronan continues, "I thought they rarely use it, maybe only for capturing mythical creatures. So, this green bird. It seems this bird is valuable." Suddenly, a magical array appears, and a faint voice emanates, "Go, ha." Finally connected, the bird makes human-like sounds, startling both of them. Asel, frightened, was about to run to hug Ronan but was stopped. The irritated young man retorted, "You think it's speaking for real? It's magical communication." He looked down at the bag and pondered, it just flew out and was connected. It's possible that the bag is to block mana. "Are you sure you are the owner of the bird?" the young man asked. He nodded and replied, "Yes, I am Varan. Currently a graduate student on mystical creatures, I am the air guard of Marpe. No matter how many times I tried to communicate, I couldn't. I was planning to report back here. Thank goodness. But I'm sorry, may I ask who you are?" Ronan immediately grabbed Asel's collar who was about to run back and calmly replied, "We are just people passing by." He reported, "We had just fought poachers. The people who kidnapped the bird. And then, the young man can't say he single-handedly eliminated them in an instant." This story is too bloody to describe, the young man thought to himself and remained silent as a stone. I finished the sentence, "We saved it." The other guy was startled when he heard this. "What, poaching?" He stroked his beard and said, "I thought about it but I didn't expect something like this to happen. I owe you a lot." He confusedly replied, "I don't know how to repay him." Asel looked at the blue bird with the same appearance and was indescribably confused. "It's so adorable. I just said, there's no need, but how can I repay him? The bird is back for you. It seems like being tied up is very tiring. If you take this off, can it fly?" Ronan means the handcuffs on his feet. He stammered, "Yeah, sure. Mongbird misses home very clearly, so if you let him go, I will not hesitate to pick up my sword and agree, then that's fine." The young man immediately cut off the cuffs in the blink of an eye, scaring the bird because it was so fast. The bird chirped continuously, bewildered. "Go back to your father, Bluebird," and when he's done, he speaks nonchalantly. But in the bird's eyes now, your image is the most savior in the world, his halo is sparkling, don't worry your father anymore, just one sentence will make the bird touched. Then it immediately chirped and did strange actions. Ronan was stunned. The young man shouted in annoyance, "He's sticking his butt in my face, what does that mean?" He explained, "Well, he wants you to pull out a feather before he flies away, it seems he wants to see you again." Ronan plucked a feather from its body as he said, "After you pluck the bird's feathers, it can lead the host to you like a compass. Have you plucked your feathers yet? So if you come to the research center, remember to visit Marpe and me. I will repay you." That guy shouted loudly before the bird soared into the sky. The young man looked helpless, it flew really fast. Asel suddenly asked, "What are you holding, Ronan?" Ronan lowered his head and looked down, still bewildered. I just saw it now." The next second they were both bewildered, not understanding anything. What is this? A few days later they went to the merchant's place to trade, where there were horses and people exchanging goods. Big, strong men carried things up and down. The merchant held a magnifying glass, thoughtfully examined the sapphire in his hand, then praised the value and craftsmanship of this jewelry. "What a precious item, I'll give you 20 gold coins, this person is the owner of the Carabel Company. The things you brought are all valuable. I'm really lucky today." He was very satisfied and laughed happily because he got a good deal. "I was actually able to meet a customer like you." Until now, Ronan was happy and made friends. Finally, someone understood. Ronan stood behind him, looking sideways and worried. Remembering the scene where he had to curse with other merchants made him tired. The other merchants were all scammers. Just now he was cursing with one guy. "This one costs 5 coins, mister. Are you blind?" Old man, that guy is so angry, what did you say? A cell had to pull to keep you from fighting, calm down Ronan. In the end, there was peace, he shook hands and agreed on the price, but fortunately I met a sharp-eyed businessman like him. It was truly worth the effort of going around all this time. Juon was also very pleased, I was very happy. Glad to hear you say that. Do you want to price anything else? The merchant asked. He felt in his pocket and said, well, is this okay? I don't intend to sell it, I'm just curious to see what it is. It's a beautiful egg with the color of the Milky Way. That night, some dreaming bird left this, he remembered that day. This egg has a very beautiful, smooth, shiny surface. At first, I thought it pooped on my hand, but it didn't. At that time, Ronan was very angry and shouted, does this chicken dare to repay me with this? To test it, he got angry and threw it straight into the cliff in front of him. It was really scary. And I knew it was very hard. Both of us immediately gasped and widened our eyes when we saw that the egg wasn't broken, but a broken stone. He was still confused. I didn't know what egg this was, but it was indeed the product of a mysterious creature. The merchant was now looking very attentively and observing carefully. It could be a golden treasure, he secretly hoped. The merchant suddenly asked with a serious face, this color and this texture. Not to mention, the young man was excited because he thought it would be a treasure. Horse manure, a sentence that hit Ronan like lightning, making him disillusioned. He sadly took it back. Of course it wasn't. The merchant scratched his head and smiled. Yeah, but I don't know what it is. I think it's a rare item. Why don't you give it to a professional place to appraise it? The young man looked solemn and thought, not understanding what this was. He sighed, I guess I should do that. Now that I'm curious, I probably won't sell it yet. And the cell on the side is still staring, so is that a hardened turd? Oh, do you have a book about Philion? Ronan asked further, what about Philion, the academy? Ronan nodded, yes, we were planning to take part in Philion's entrance exam but didn't know anything about it. The old man nodded, what a perfect timing for the entrance exam. He introduced, my daughter is also preparing for the entrance exam. Maybe she can help you too, she's probably coming soon. A girl walking from behind suddenly spoke up, what's going on, Dad? Who are they? The merchant cheerfully greeted me, he's back. A girl with blonde hair and extremely beautiful green eyes, this is my only daughter, Maria. The young man was startled when he saw her, Maria. It was her, he was a bit surprised. Juon happily talked to her daughter. Maria said hello to the two of you. These are some big people that Dad just made a deal with. Really? The daughter was surprised to hear what Dad said. These brats, she said in a rather skeptical tone. The father said grumpily, what kind of words is this brat? I'm sorry, he grew up in a merchant company so he speaks a bit rudely, he said shyly. Asel quickly replied politely, it's okay. But Ronan must have been, Before he could finish his sentence, he saw Ronan running towards the girl. He asked directly, hey, are you Maria? The girl politely replied, what's wrong? He continued to ask, does Maria have a Lotus middle name? She said yes and continued, but how did he know? Ronan pondered for a moment and found it very strange, she really resembled her. But the person I know, he remembers that person's appearance because the other person is male. So he called softly, hey, I'll ask you one more question, come here. Maria doesn't understand what this guy wants. Wait, what do you want to ask? She asked again. He whispered in her ear and said, so, do you have that down there? That bird, it's so annoying. Has anyone ever asked a girl like that?